One of the things we've seen over the last year, year and a half are a lot of the national payroll providers like ADP and Bamboo HR actually dropping their current clients that are in the cannabis space. Any flower touching business, those big national payroll providers will not do business with at the moment. I think that's going to probably change with the Safe Banking Act kind of working its way through Congress and the Senate, but I think that's still a little ways off. So that's definitely a big challenge, is finding a platform that can handle all of the needs of a fairly large business, medium-sized enterprise with all of the different features that you would want, but also having the ability to run the payroll and potentially use a bank that's not a national bank. So I think those are some of the main challenges that some of these larger operations that are operating in multiple states. The other issue sometimes we run across in this space too is these businesses having multiple EIN, employee identification numbers from the IRS, that are rolling up into one corporate umbrella entity. And just having a payroll and HR human capital resource platform that can handle all of the requirements that some of these businesses are getting fairly big, and they want to scale. They're going to have 200, 500 employees over the next 5 years. So that's a big deal to have a platform that can support those kind of numbers.
Cannabis businesses, just like any other business, usually evaluates the solutions that are available to them in the marketplace every year, every other year. But in cannabis, it's a little different. We see a lot of clients that are being booted or fired by their existing provider that don't have the knowledge to handle cannabis funds. And then we also see some more traditional things, like a lack of service from a current provider, where the cannabis space does have a limited amount of solutions available to them at this point, and there are some companies out there that have taken advantage of that. So we focused very heavily on our service model, especially for the cannabis space, and then finally, a lot of companies, as they grow, they find that they need more agile software, things that can manage their complexities, and that's where PeopleGuru really shines. There's a lot of different types of systems. There's best in breed, there's all-encompassing HCM solutions like PeopleGuru. The really thing that our clients try and focus on, and what I'd recommend people focus on, is find the right fit for you. What's important to your organization? Not everybody's going to be the same. When you buy a solution, be cognizant of the fact that if you're buying just an HR payroll system and it doesn't have any strategic functionality built within that single database platform, be aware of that. What are your growth plans? You don't want to switch software every year. There's a lot of work involved. There's some cost involved. So find the right fit for you. And size is not always equal complexity. So, we've seen here at PeopleGuru, 100 employee companies that might require more functionality than a 2,000 employee company. So just find the right fit for you. Another thing I'd recommend, especially in an HR payroll system, and looking beyond the core, is identify your company's key performance indicators. What things are you going to want to track based on performance? How are you going to recruit and retain? Look at all those things, and then just choose the best solution, the best fit for your organization.
So Q Cannabis is an online resource for small businesses in the cannabis space to find the software and the technology that they need to run their business. So specifically looking at dispensaries, cultivation operations, and then to a lesser degree, some of the manufacturing and extraction operations that are out there. And then obviously you've got the vertical integration of all three of those under one firm as well. So we do a lot of work on the upfront decision-making side to help these businesses make good decisions about their technology, to find these things easily, and then also to be able to manage them easily on a dashboard platform, to be able to manage all your subscriptions in one place, quick launch, and then get some key statistics from each of these platforms as you integrate them. has been a great partner for us because they are one of those established HR platforms. They have a ton of features. They have really good pricing. It's very reasonable, competitive. And they are willing to work with flower touching businesses and be able to support their payroll needs, whether it's with the banking relationships that People Guru has in place already, or if the client has their own banking relationships. People Guru has been very flexible, and they're also just have incredible customer service. We've heard lots of good things from our clients that are working now with People Guru. So those are some of the bigger factors, features, price, customer service, and then the ability to run payroll.
People Guru is a human capital management software and services provider. Our system focuses on core HR, benefit management, employee and manager self-service, paperless onboarding, all the things you would expect in an HR platform: payroll, time and labor, tax, ACA management. And then we also developed some really strategic tools within that single database framework for recruiting, salary administration, performance management. The system itself has some really cool social and networking capabilities built within, and it's all delivered via the web and native mobile apps. When you talk about our expertise in the cannabis space, you're looking at implementation teams dedicated specifically for cannabis that have implemented this system tens of times, so they have that best practice knowledge. As well, there's a limited number of providers in the cannabis space for human capital management, so we've done conversions from all of these competitors many times. So we're familiar with coaching, counseling clients on best practices to move that data and really make it a seamless conversion for the clients. We love working with our partners, especially the really strong ones like Q Cannabis. Part of the reason that relationship's so successful and the clients that we share are so successful using this platform is that initial vetting process that Q puts the prospect through. By the time they get to us, we can be confident in the work that Q's done to make sure that it's a best fit, best in breed type of solution for that client. So it really enhances the sales cycle when we have that trusted partner involved, like Q Cannabis, for example.
One area to really watch closely here is anything happening at the federal level. So again, the Safe Banking Act I mentioned earlier, that's working its way through committees and might come to a full vote here soon. They're also looking at potentially deregulating cannabis off of the controlled substances list, the Schedule 1 list. If that happens, that might open up quite a few things as well. So lots of unknowns in that space, but that's also a really good area to keep an eye on for multi-state operators in the cannabis space, because the other thing that will happen with that is a little more uniformity, I think, across state lines once the federal legislation starts to work its way through. So you'll see a little more consistency, but right now it's, if you're operating across multiple states, you essentially have to have separate operations for each of those states, no matter what you're doing. If you're in the, the cannabis side and touching the flower side of this business. So you really have to pay attention to all the state regulations as well right now. That's ultra important to maintain your licenses, make sure you're staying in compliance, not only with the tax regulations and the HR regulations of that state, but also with any of the regulations that are set up to monitor the cultivation and the distribution and the sale of cannabis products. A lot to keep an eye on there, and you're going to need a good partner, at least in the HR space, that will help you stay compliant with all the state rules and regulations.
I would say the future of HR software in the cannabis space is bright. You come through the dark period, very, very limited providers. Now you're starting to see more and more. People Guru in the space about 2 years now, and you're going to start to see more providers. And that competition is only going to do good things, for the HR software segment in the cannabis industry. It's going to hopefully drive pricing down, make people more competitive, and our cannabis clients are going to have more offerings to choose from. So we're really excited about the future of HR software in the cannabis space.
This is going to be kind of a wait and see game with, as you know, states pass legislation, but I think Illinois is one to keep an eye on. There's a lot of big players in Illinois that are potentially going through some of these questions right now as they look to expand their business into Illinois. Also, Michigan's probably another fairly big market that people should keep an eye on. And then there's also some interesting things happening in the Northeast. There's 5 states in the Northeast that are just wrapped up a series of meetings with their executive branch in each of those states, talking about potentially creating uniform legislation across all 5 of those states. That'd be something to really take a look at and keep an eye on if you're planning on expanding operations or have operations in those states.
Every situation would be unique, right? So that regardless if you're a cannabis company or you're making shoes, you need to find the right HR software and systems for your company. So, in these emerging markets, we see a lot of small, agile, fast-growing organizations. So I would urge them to not just think about where they're at today, but where do you want to be in 12 months, 24 months? What's that going to look like? And you don't want to get yourself in a situation where maybe you buy some limited software because it's geared towards 10 employees or 15 employees or something, when your strategic planning is telling you that you're going to be at 500 or 1,000 employees within 24 months. So that's what I would urge everyone to do, is not only look at where you're at today, but look at where you need to go and what you need your software to do to help you get there. I think People Guru does a great job in helping companies grow at a rapid pace. And part of that is the agile nature of the software. Things change. The way you evaluate your people changes. The way you recruit and retain talent changes. So make sure that whatever you pick, that it can grow with you and it can change and adapt to whatever the environment brings you as you navigate your way through this rapidly growing space.